pretty sure. Moments passing away I've never seen before. You held me out of the dark. I always wonder if you were left without a mark. Did you ever let go? Did you ever not know? You were never out there alone.
Good morning. It is November 21st, 2019. We have just exited the 15 and gotten onto the 395 towards Adelanto Bishop. We are headed for a long weekend trip to Death Valley. A little bit of a celebratory weekend for a birthday. We've got our books and everything handy, and we are going to be hopefully staying at Stovepipe Wells Campground, and then have just a bunch of stuff planned over the next 4 days. So looking forward to it. I have never been to Death Valley before. Derek has been there years ago. So just kind of looking to see what kind of fun stuff that they have. Obviously you have to go a little bit more in the fall, winter versus the summer when it's hot, but we're still expecting temperatures in about the 70s during the daytime and then high 40s, low 50s at night.
Do you think there's a chance for this love to be real? I will let you take the wheel. From now on. From now on. Lying on a distant star.
There's road construction, so the cars have just begun to move. We've been stopped here maybe about 10 minutes or so, and I wasn't really counting, but there probably were at least maybe 50 or 60 cars that they just let through on the other side. So hopefully we will make it through in this pass.
In these violent days I wanna be where you are. Stay with me, it's getting late. Fill me with a desire that I cannot break. Did you ever let go? Did you ever not know?
Yesterday on the 20th, we had a bunch of rain locally out in Orange County, and looked like there was about 1/4 inch that was supposed to fall here in Death Valley. Nothing really on the forecast for today, but as we look to the sky ahead, it's definitely a little bit dark and cloudy. So hopefully no rainfall tonight. Don't want to be sleeping in the tent with rain and having it affect any of our off-road driving that we're looking to do later on this trip.
You were never out there alone. Do you think there's a chance for this love to be real? I will let you take the wheel. From now on. From now on. From now on. From now on.
You have just witnessed the one and only, the mountain mustache.
So please go on and explain what you were talking about.
Well, it probably wasn't as evident from the angle we just showed, but a little bit further back, there's just a thin white cloud kind of along the edge of the mountain, and it looked like a little cloud mustache. So we dubbed him the mountain mustache.
Distant fire burning low.
Well, we have entered the rain. It has been somewhat steady for the last few minutes. Hopefully it'll let up at least enough for us to get the tent set up.
You were telling me everything I didn't know. Outside there's a midnight rain. With the hardest of heart, I still feel full of pain.
This is for our campsite, so we have to fill out our info and then stick it at the campsite.
Did you ever let go? Did you ever not know?
We have arrived at Stovepipe Wells Campground. We are in campground spot number 6. It looks like there's only about maybe 10 to 15 tent campsites. There's 3 other people, it looks like, here that set up before us, but not much to the campsites. They're definitely bare bones. You have just a table, a fire pit, and then a couple of shrubs that you can try to stick your tent around for a little bit of privacy. But we are going to start unpacking the car and get the camp set up.
Yeah, I think this campsite has like, what, 180 spots total?
180 spots. The majority of them are all RV type spots.
Yeah, they're all RV, so, and you can't make reservations here, so we got here at a good time. There's only, like Kelly said, a couple other people there, so we had our choice of spots and we picked number 6.
You were never out there alone. Do you think there's a chance for this love to be real? I will let you take the wheel from now on. From now on.
I believe they call this glamping. Can't go camping without an air mattress and a generator to pump it up.
We just finished putting up our tent. We're gonna head over to the restroom, wash our hands, and then head back to the tent and have a little bit of late lunch before we head out. The temperature today, probably right now, is probably, I don't know, 65, 70 maybe.
Yeah, feels a little bit warmer when the sun's directly out.
Yeah, when the clouds are nice or overhead, it's very nice, and then when the sun hits you, you know, it feels pretty hot. You know, it is Death Valley, it is the desert, but at least we're not in the summertime where it's super hot, so we will take this over that any day, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You were never out there alone. Do you think there's a chance for this love to be real? I will let you take the wheel from now on. From now on.
Today's lunch is our usual hiking food, just tortillas, some salami, and then some string cheese. And then you just roll it up, and it makes for a pretty good lunch. It's pretty simple, it's quick, and it's good.
We're headed out from the campground. Our goal this afternoon, we've got about 2 hours of daylight left. We are going to head to the sand dunes. And then there's also something on the map, the historic Stovepipe Well. I didn't see anything about that when I was reading beforehand, so we'll go check that out. And then there's the Devil's Cornfield. and also the Salt Creek Loop Interpretive Trail. So not a lot of big stuff, but we're gonna try to see what we can make before it gets too dark.
Is this the last time I can see you in a while?
We're at our first stop for this afternoon, the Mesquite Sand Dunes. Kind of reminds us a little bit of the sand dunes in Colorado, the Great Sand Dunes National Park. At least here they make a little bit more sense because we are in the desert. So the Mesquite Sand Dunes are 14 sprawling miles across the widest part of Death Valley, and it's one of the easiest ways to actually get out and adventure into the park. The highest dune's about, I think it said, a mile from here, but there's a lot of dunes you have to cross between here and there to get there. So they recommend taking off your shoes and walking through if you can, and then also to try to visit either in the morning or the evening, and you might be able to catch the glimpses of some animal tracks throughout the sand.
Is it the truth that you believe in tonight?
Get ready for some sandy toes.
We should take a walk, then a swim in the sea. That will mean everything, yeah.
It's just like at the beach. It's very difficult to walk through this soft sand.
Everything to me. Can we get out of this one? Waiting and missing. I never thought you would leave me here.
The big sand dunes are about a mile away or so, so we're gonna head out just in that direction, just to see how close we can get to them.
We can get out of this one. A tunnel of feelings, and just like we got through everything now.
That did not work very well.
What was that?
That was my Baywatch impression.
But I see you, honey.
So the dunes were pretty fun. We're just walking back to the car now. It was fun to explore a little bit. Our shoes are full of sand. I mean, it's unbelievable how much sand is in there when you're walking up these things. And we're off to our next stop somewhere. We'll let you know what it is.
This is in no way funny. We will find our way back together. But right now, there's stormy weather. I see a team.
Look at all that sand. So I had a lot of sand in my shoes. So Kelly had a lot as well. But now we'll get to see what is in my other shoe. See if that one's worse. Oh yeah. Take a look at that. So I guess when you go to sand dunes, you expect to get some sand in your shoe.
We are going to head either to the Devil's Cornfield or the historic Stovepipe Well, depending on which one is the first turnoff that we have on the road.
Under the palm trees in the California sun, sand underneath our feet, the morning's just begun. I don't remember much.
We have made it to the historic Stovepipe Well. Out here it's about a mile or so on a dirt road off the main road. And so we're gonna come take a look to see what it's like.
From the night before, just from the human touch, and now I want more.
We're not sure why everyone added rock and broken glass, but we are going to add our own and start a new spot. So it says this water hole, only one in the sand dune area of Death Valley, was at a junction of two Indian trails. During the bonanza days of Rhyolite and Skidoo, it was the only known water source in this cross valley road. When sand obstructed the spot, a length of stovepipe was inserted as a marker, hence its unique name, Old Stovepipe Wells.
And now my memory slowly coming back, cracks a smile upon my face, but then it all.
We just finished up with the old Stovepipe well. This was the only water hole out here in the middle of Death Valley. The well's all sealed up, but it'd be interesting to see or to know if the water was still there or when did it finally dry up.
We are headed to the Salt Creek Nature Trail. It says here in our book that the desert pupfish was the only fish to survive the evaporation of the lake. So there's ancient lake beds, and currently they've put a boardwalk over that area that you can walk on and see the pupfish habitat. So not sure if we'll actually see anything or not, but I'm interested to see what a desert pupfish is.
We have made it to Salt Creek Trail.
Looks like we might be a little too early to see any pupfish. It says in the springtime, millions of the fish start to emerge from underneath the clay or the dirt they burrow down in to try to avoid the summer heat. As we've been walking and we've gotten a little bit more water to the left of us here, you can actually start to get a smell of fish.
What do you see?
Pupfish,
How many?
lots of them.
I'm actually pretty impressed with Salt Creek here. For one, there's water. I didn't expect there to be water. And two, I really didn't expect there to be any type of fish here for the pupfish, considering we're not in the season for that. But we saw a lot of that. The first one we saw probably 20 or 30. Then that second time we probably saw, I don't know, hundreds probably.
Pretty good guess. So it'd be interesting to see during the springtime when, you know, they say there's millions of them, how impacted these waters really end up becoming.
Last stop of the day before we head back to camp. We're at the Devil's Cornfield. So please explain why it's called the Devil's Cornfield.
So it says, seeking to capitalize on the mystique of Death Valley, early promoters attached dubious names like Devil's Cornfield to its strange and unusual features. Thought to resemble bundled corn left to dry in rows at harvest time, the root system of the arrowweed binds to the soil around each plant. And then as the wind erodes and scours away the dirt around it or the sand around it, you're left with kind of the root structures showing. So they look like shocks of corn. Another fun fact for you is, as the name suggests, the arrow root plants are actually used as the arrow shafts by the Native American Indians when they were making their arrows. here eating dinner on our first night. I tried to get a little bit more creative than we usually do. So we are eating some chicken tortilla soup. It is made out of a mix, but we brought the chicken and the salsa that goes in it, as well as the chicken broth and a little bit of cheese and sour cream mixed in to the mix, and it is nice and tasty on this chilly evening. So when we checked into the campground, we actually met the camp host. His name is Brian, and he was talking about how you need to make sure that you put your food away. We were thinking for coyotes, things like that, but he said there's a kit fox that's been running around here that's been stealing food, and we were eating dinner and happened to catch a glimpse of him. Not sure if it showed up on the film, but if it did, it was pretty neat to see him kind of running around back here in the campground. So we may see more of him over the next couple of days.
So we just had another encounter with the kit fox. We were finishing up our food, and then all of a sudden, I heard something to my left, and so I look, and the fox was probably, I don't know, 2 feet away, just like staring at me. And I startled it, he startled me, and then he took off running. So it was pretty cool. It obviously wants to come back and try to get some of our food that we had. So we'll make sure that when we finish up here, we'll clean it all up and make sure there's nothing here for him to come back to. So we finished up with day one. We're just in the tent here. Right after we made food tonight, it started raining a little bit, so we couldn't sit by the fire and enjoy it. So instead, we moved on inside the tent and then got ready for bed. And so it's about 9:30 right now. We're just about ready to hit the bed or go to bed. Kelly's right over there already sleeping for that. So hopefully it won't be too bad. It's supposed to be like probably high 40s, low 50s tonight. So I think we got enough sleeping bag, enough blankets, enough clothing to be warm. So we will see everybody tomorrow. So another thing that is pretty impressive about Death Valley is right now we're minus 200 feet below sea level. So in essence, we're like breathing underwater, which is pretty cool.